I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and you're watching 30 Days of me, Sonic, on Super Beanie Man Gaming.
The Can't Touch This silver trophy in Sonic Generations on the PS3 is absolute bull, and it's one of the worst trophies in the game. So you get a chance to unlock this trophy when you're at the very end of the game, where you're facing off against Dr. Robotnik.
Nobody calls me that anymore.
If you can take down the two Eggmans, you can earn this trophy, which sounds pretty simple, right?
But wait! There's more!
The problem is, you can't get hit at all, like ever, because if you do, you will void the trophy. Oh, what were they thinking at Sega doing this? Jeez.
Wow, will I really get that crazy?
That one bullshit PlayStation trophy. So there's a clear reason why this was the final trophy that I needed in order to unlock the platinum, and it wasn't necessarily because it was super hard or anything like that. It's just that this final boss as the two Supersonics, which should normally be one of the coolest parts of any Sonic game, is actually, to be honest, one of the worst parts of Sonic Generations, because the Time Eater boss is just absolutely broken and just really annoying. So as soon as you start, it'll tell you to hold square to boost, but as soon as you do hold boost, and you'll quickly realise that the boost is actually rubbish, because it never feels like you're actually hurling towards Robotnik going down this tunnel. Imagine that you're playing the Sonic 2 special stage, running down the half pipe, but instead of running, you're sort of flying, but you're attached to a cord, so you can't quite go at the speed you want. That's kind of how it feels when you're moving around in this pipe tube thing. You can never really move fully where you want to go, and it just doesn't feel like you've got the freedom to move. And more cracks begin to show in this boss battle as you realise that Supersonic ability is timed with the rings, so if you run out, you'll end up dying, just like all the other Sonic games. And that's where another problem occurs, in that it's really hard to actually see the rings in order to grab them. I mean, maybe it's just me, but most of the time when I spot the rings, they're pretty much right on top of you, and by the time you've reacted to move to where they are, they've already flew past you and gone off screen, so you may get like one or two, but you'd never get a full row. Even switching to 2D, where you'd think it'd be easy to pick them up, it's still really hard to even spot the things, let alone try and grab them. I mean, did you see the rings then, in that little clip? No? Well, let's take another look at this clip again and see if you can spot where the rings are and where they actually occur. Did you see them? No? Okay, well this time I'll slow the footage down. Can you spot the rings now? Get ready. Here they are. If you look into sort of middle of the screen, you might be able to see the rings. Look, there they are. And there they go. Missed them. And that's the main problem, because you just can't ever see the rings. There's too much crap. There's too much graphical effects in the way, and it just makes the screen really crowded and the tube just really hard to see. And even when you see them ahead of time on the rare occasions, they're still a pain to get, because the controls and movement of Sonic is just really stiff and awkward that you'll probably miss them anyway. So the rings are a big stumbling block and a big frustration point, but worse still, when you get down to about 20 or so rings, you'll start to hear this beeping noise as it counts down to your inevitable demise. So for most players doing this boss fight, the majority of time you'll just be hearing this siren just blaring off, taunting you basically that you're about to die. And trust me, when you're trying to beat this boss, let alone going for this trophy, you will run out of rings and die a lot. And I mean a lot.
What? What the fuck?
One good thing I will say about this trophy is that it's quite lenient in what you can actually take damage from, as you can bump into the giant asteroids, the vehicles and all the other weird bits of debris that are floating through the time tunnel, without worrying about voiding the trophy, because when you get to the end, if you hurtle through a load of these, you will still get the perfect bonus and the trophy. It's only Robotnik or Eggman's attacks that will affect this trophy.
But wait! There's more!
While the trophy gives with one hand, it definitely takes away with the other, as there are a few more problems that cause this boss and the trophy for not getting hit to be even harder than it should be. Like when you switch back to 3D from the 2D plane, you'll often find yourself stuck to the top of the tunnel, which can result in you missing some valuable rings.
But wait! There's more!
Another problem is actually hitting Eggman and the Time Eater yourselves. So you have to basically fly up to where he is, but this can be really awkward to trigger the actual move to boost into him and damage him, as oftentimes you'll get right up close to him and nothing will happen. The game also gives you this other move where if you hold down the X button, I think it is, you will cause the other Sonic that you're not directly controlling to launch forward and do an attack, and when you get close to the Time Eater, it actually shows you this green target on the purple glowing weak spot, so you would instantly think that you need to launch the Sonic into it, wouldn't you? But that's not the case at all. You have to hold down boost, and eventually Sonic will just fly into that thing and hit it. But that can mean that you're just waiting around right in front of him and nothing happens for ages, causing you to take more risk of actually getting hit by one of Eggman's Time Eater attacks. It just feels really broken. I don't know why it does this, because you can be right there, right by it, but you can't hit it. And the fact that it gives you that target, it just makes you think you've got to use that attack. But if you do that, nothing happens. You can only use that Sonic attack to smash any debris that you're about to hit. So when that doesn't even matter for the trophy, that move is pretty much useless and just distracts you from what you're actually supposed to do by just holding in the boost. But when that doesn't actually work right, it just makes the whole process of actually hitting the Time Eater just really awkward and frustrating, especially when your rings are counting down, or you're near the end of the boss and you end up dying because of that, because it didn't do anything. It's just frustrating. Ugh.
But wait! There's more!
Another problem is, if you do that team attack move, it actually stops you from moving between the 2D and 3D planes of the tunnel, because you have to wait until that other Sonic ends up flying back to you, and sometimes that can take absolutely ages. So this whole move, this whole launching Sonic move, is just a waste of time. It really is. You're better off just not doing it and trying to avoid the Time Eater's attacks. So he can do various things like shooting these homing rockets at you, and he can do these moves in both the 2D and 3D planes, and the rockets are probably the most awkward one to try and avoid, as they can just come out of nowhere off screen when you think you've avoided them and hit you. Another move he does if you get close to him before hitting the weak spot is slamming his things to do a hit, so that's one that you definitely want to avoid. And basically it's just a task of flying towards him, eventually triggering the hit animation to hit him, and then doing it again. As soon as you hit him, he will teleport away from you, and you basically sort of reset to back to the sort of beginning stage of this boss fight, and you have to fly down the tunnel to catch up with him once more, to then hit him again. And once you do this for the second time, you're flying down the tunnel again, the Time Eater will start to do different moves, so he'll now start to slow down time. So if he launches another attack while you're slowed, the chances are you're going to get hit. So whenever he slows down time, just press triangle to switch to the other plane, so you won't have the effect of the time. He also starts to fire off this laser beam, and for the most part, it can be fairly easy to avoid. The main problems are just keeping your ring count up and avoiding those yellow rockets. A good tip for the rings is whenever you've hit him and you've defeated him for that phase, just stop using the boost, because you'll spawn and there'll be some rings directly in front of you, and they're an easy bunch to grab and top you up into the hundreds. A good way to avoid most of his attacks are, well, if you're in the 3D plane, for example, and you see the Time Eater move into the 2D one, the game will want you to go into the 2D one to fight him and hit him there, but your best bet is to just stay in whatever plane he's not, because you can fly through the tunnel without any of his attacks reaching you, and it will also give you a good chance to pick up any excess rings that you need. So that's a good way to do it, and eventually the Time Eater will come back into your tunnel and start attacking you, and that's when you can go and hit him. So they are the best 2 tips you can sort of have with this trophy. So once you do the final hit, you get up close to him and hit that purple weak spot again, you'll have to do another move on him where you hold down the trigger buttons to initiate the final hit and defeat him once and for all. Another annoying thing I want to just quickly mention is the character voices. Your support characters like Knuckles, Tails, Amy and Shadow and Vector and all the others, they will start to grate on you big time because you'll constantly hear them say things like, "You got this, Sonic, you can do it, watch out for his homing attacks." That gets really tiresome very quickly, especially when you're repeating the stage for like the 10th time trying to do this trophy. That will really start to grate, just hearing their whiny little voices every time. But with a bit of practice and maybe a little bit of luck, you'll eventually get through without getting any attack damage, and you'll get the trophy. So while the Can't Touch This trophy isn't one of the hardest trophies I've ever gotten in a Sonic game, it's definitely one of the more frustrating ones, because it shouldn't have been that much of an ordeal to get through, because the boss fight should have worked. You know, the rest of the game is brilliantly designed and it's an absolutely superb Sonic game, but this final boss fight is an absolute letdown because it's just broken from a design point of view, and just the functionality of it and what you do in it and how it's visually presented, it's just all a bit of a fail, to be honest, and it just makes the trophy even more frustrating than it ever needed to be, because this boss fight shouldn't have been as awkward as this, but I just don't think it was tested enough and just refined enough, and for that reason the Can't Touch This trophy in Sonic Generations gets a bullshit trophy rating of
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit.